This could well be her last line of defense. Let's go.
Let us defy destiny. Together. Cloud, there's still so much to be done.
Hey, welcome to Attack the Stack. If you like that, try this. Usually we try not to include games from the same franchise on our list, but we decided to make an exception for this one, because each main entry in the Final Fantasy series isn't a sequel or prequel to another one. They're each their own thing, so we decided to include just a few here, but only ones that we thought were similar to Final Fantasy VII Remake in a few different ways. Alright, let's get into it. Don't forget to hit that like button if you find something new to attack. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII is an action role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix. The game is a prequel to Final Fantasy VII. The game primarily focuses on Zack Fair, a young member of the paramilitary organization Soldier, who is assigned to look for the missing soldier Genesis Rhapsodos. As he searches for Genesis, Zack discovers Genesis' origin, Project G, and how it is related to two other high-ranking soldiers, Sephiroth and Angeal Hewley. Crisis Core uses a real-time combat system. Up to 6 materia can be equipped at any one time, which can impart special attacks, magic spells, or passive bonuses such as health increases, or the ability to display the statistics of the current foe in combat. Materia are gained throughout the game through exploration, as rewards from side missions, as spoils of battle, or from shops. Materia can be fused together to make more powerful versions with improved bonuses. Special items collected in the game can also be used in materia fusion to further increase the materia's power.
So tomorrow, you and me in the ring. You ready? Don't hold back, Lee. Promise?
I want you for a lifetime.
Wait!
So if you're gonna
Find the hearts joined to yours.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is an action role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix. It is the 12th installment in the Kingdom Hearts series and serves as a conclusion of the Dark Seeker Saga story arc that began with the original game. Set after the events of Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance, returning protagonist Sora is joined by Donald Duck, Goofy, King Mickey, and Riku in their search for 7 Guardians of Light as they attempt to thwart Xehanort's plan to bring about a second Keyblade War. Their journey has them cross paths with characters and visit worlds based on different Disney and Pixar intellectual properties. The game introduces new attraction flow attacks that incorporate various Disney parks attractions. Gameplay in Kingdom Hearts 3 is similar to its predecessors with hack and slash combat. Form changes are a new feature that change Sora's outfit. Various Keyblades are linked to each form. There's also Second Form, which changes Sora's battle skills rather than transform the Keyblade. Unlike previous games in the series, players are able to quickly switch between different Keyblades seamlessly during gameplay rather than from the game's equipment menu, and each Keyblade can be leveled up to increase their abilities. Various mini-games playable throughout Kingdom Hearts 3 include a cooking-themed game featuring Remy from Ratatouille, and a music game in the Tangled world. Additionally, the classic Kingdom features over 20 games presented in the style of 1980s LCD games, while the 100 Acre Wood world features puzzle games. Kingdom Hearts 3 was met with generally positive reviews from critics.
We will see her, right?
We'll see her again. And soon.
Final Fantasy XIII is a science fiction role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix. The game takes place in the fictional floating world of Cocoon, whose government, the Sanctum, is ordering a purge of civilians who have supposedly come into contact with Pulse, a much feared world below. The former soldier Lightning begins her fight against the government in order to save her sister, who has been branded as an unwilling servant to a godlike being from Pulse, making her an enemy of Cocoon. Lightning is soon joined by a band of allies, and together the group also become marked by the same Pulse creature. A maximum of 3 characters may be used in battles. The player only controls the lead character, while the remaining 2 characters are controlled by the game's artificial intelligence. Under this system, the player selects an action from the menus. Each action requires a specific number of slots on the ATB bar, which continually refills to a set maximum number of slots. Each enemy has a meter called a chain counter, consisting of a percentage starting at 100, which increases when the enemy is struck by attacks or spells. Attacks by different roles have different effects. The amount of damage performed by an attack is multiplied by the chain percentage before it is applied to the enemy. When the chain counter reaches a preset amount different for each enemy, the enemy is placed into stagger state. Additionally, each leader or controlled character can summon a specific Eidolon into battle. The Crystarium is the game's leveling system, consisting of 6 crystals with each divided into 10 levels. Each level contains various nodes that supply bonuses to health, strength, or magic, or provide new abilities and accessory slots. The player unlocks these nodes by acquiring and using Crystarium points, which are awarded after defeating enemies. The full Crystarium is not available to the player at the beginning of the game. At specific points in the game's plot, the player gains access to new crystals or levels. Final Fantasy XIII received mostly positive reviews from video game publications, which praised the game's graphics, presentation, and battle system. I think this game was ahead of its time, and I think it's better than a lot of people remember.
Is this a curse? Or some kind of punishment?
Nier Automata is an action role-playing game developed by Platinum Games and published by Square Enix. It is a sequel to Nier, which itself is a spin-off and sequel to the Drakengard series. Set during a proxy war between alien-created machines and human-crafted androids, the story follows the trials of a combat android, her companion, and a fugitive prototype. The story requires multiple playthroughs, each unlocking additional story elements. Gameplay combines role-playing elements with action-based hack-and-slash combat and features switches between video game genres similar to that of Nier, with elements ranging from shoot 'em up to text adventure. The story, written by Yoko Taro, references several philosophies and explores themes of finding value in life and the reasons people kill. During battle, the player can use light attacks and heavy attacks. The player can evade enemy attacks and, with successfully timed button presses, can gain temporary invulnerability and launch a counterattack. The player is able to bring two melee weapons into combat. While attacking, the player can alternate between both weapons and attacks to create combination attacks, and each character has a different combat style. Attacks with different weapon types can also be charged and launched for increased damage. Character customization is handled through chips, items installed into the player characters that adjust some of their attributes. The number of chips that can be installed at any one time are limited by how many slots a character has. Chips can either be purchased at shops or picked up from defeated enemies. The game was met with critical acclaim for its story and themes, gameplay, and music. This game is a prime example of video games as art, and I highly recommend it for people that want more than just entertainment. It's brilliant.
In this time of absolute darkness.
Final Fantasy Type 0 HD is an action role-playing game developed by Square Enix and Hexadrive, and published by Square Enix. The story focuses on Class Zero, a group of 14 students from the Dominion of Rubrum who must fight the neighboring Militesi Empire when they launch an assault on the other crystal states of Orience. In doing so, the group become entangled in both the efforts to push back and defeat the forces of Militesi, and the secret behind the war and the existence of the crystals. Outside mission environments and academia, Class Zero's home base, Class Zero navigates Orience through a scaled-down world map. The world can be navigated on foot using chocobos or via an airship. Type 0 HD is split into missions, with free periods in between. During these free periods between missions, players can explore academia, breed chocobos for personal use, and complete side quests for characters in academia and liberated towns. During missions, 3 members of Class Zero can be selected for missions, while the others are kept in reserve in case a player character dies. The lead character can be swapped at any time, with the other 2 being controlled by the game's artificial intelligence. During certain story missions, players take part in real-time strategy battles on the world map. During combat missions, players gain experience points and increase their experience level as they defeat enemies, as well as obtaining Phantoma from defeated enemies, used to upgrade the character's magic skills. Each character has access to summon monsters called Eidolons, which are summoned for limited periods at the cost of a character's total health. At release, it received praise for its story and battle system. Tales of Berseria is a Japanese-style action role-playing game developed and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. It is the 16th main entry in the Tales series and a prequel of Tales of Zestiria. When in battle, players can freely move around the arena. Characters fight using physical and magical attacks, along with performing skills known as arts that have various effects on enemies. Arts can be directly mapped to different control buttons. Abilities outside attacking include guarding against attacks, sidestepping around opponents, and escaping from battle. A key element in battles is the soul gauge. Each character has a separate gauge showing up to 5 souls, which are used when arts are used. While characters can still attack with a depleted soul gauge, their attacks can be easily deflected by enemies, but the soul gauge automatically recharges with time. Souls are dropped by enemies in battle and can be stolen to refill the gauge, a mechanic that enemies can also use to steal souls from the player. If enough of the soul gauge is full, characters can activate unique states called the Break Soul, where they can exceed their combo limit and bring unique effects into battle. The main party consists of 4 characters, which can all be assigned as the controlled character during battle, with the other available playable characters held in reserve. While primarily designed for single player, local multiplayer for battles is also supported.
The decreed hour is come. Set forth with my blessing, Prince Noctis.
Final Fantasy XV is an action role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix. Final Fantasy XV takes place on the fictional world of Eos. Aside from Asamnia, the capital of Lucis, all the world is dominated by the Empire of Niflheim, who seek control of the magical crystal protected by the Lucian royal family. On the eve of peace negotiations, Niflheim attacks the capital and steals the crystal. Noctis Lucis Calum, heir to the Lucian throne, goes on a quest to rescue the crystal and defeat Niflheim. He later learns his full role as the true king, destined to use the crystal's powers to save Eos from eternal darkness. In combat, the player selects commands directly mapped to buttons on the controller. Noctis can perform 4 actions in battle: attack, defend, warp, and item. There's a wait mode option available as well, where if all player input stops, the battle pauses for a limited amount of time. In addition to normal attacks, there are attacks that deal more damage based on Noctis' position, such as Side Strike or Blindside. Attacks from enemies can be parried, and depending on the quality of the parry, Noctis can counterattack. If wielding a shield-type weapon, a successful block staggers an enemy. Noctis can launch a special attack with the royal arms dubbed Armiger when the meter fills during combat. His companions, controlled by the game's artificial intelligence, can perform contextual commands. During battle, a meter called the tech bar fills. When full, Noctis can command his companions to perform special moves called techniques. Activities in the overworld earn the party ability points, or AP. AP is spent on the Ascension Grid, the game's leveling system, which is divided into skill trees called Astral Spheres. Each Astral Sphere is sorted by type, being associated with magic, combat, or passive abilities. Spending AP opens up nodes within the Astral Sphere. Upon release, Final Fantasy XV was well received by journalists. Widespread praise was given for its gameplay, visuals, and emotional weight. XIII Lacrimosa of Dana is an action role-playing game developed by Niham Falcom and published in North America and Europe by Nice America. Adult is on a passenger ship called the Lombardia that is headed to Xandria to the continent of Eresia. However, the ship is attacked by a giant creature and is sunk, and when Adult wakes up, he realizes he landed on the shore of a cursed island known as the Isle of Serene. On his search for other survivors, he seeks to find a way to get off the island. At the same time, he wants to find out what lies beyond his dreams about Dana Eclusia, a mysterious girl from a prehistoric era who seemingly has a connection to the Isle of Serene and Adol's fate. Players control multiple main characters, each with their own playstyles. In combat, there are 3 damage types determined by a character's weapon. By switching characters on the fly, you can efficiently damage your foes. If you keep attacking an enemy with the damage type they're vulnerable against, they will enter break status. While afflicted with break status, enemies lose their guard and become vulnerable to all 3 damage types. You can assign skills to corresponding button combinations through the menu. Using a skill requires SP. SP can be quickly restored by landing a fully charged attack against an enemy. If you time your guard, all damage from enemy attacks will be nullified. Plus, every attack you deliver will deal critical damage for a short period of time. In addition to guard timing, choosing to evade at the right time will cause everything but the player to move in slow motion for a short period of time.
お前に一ついいことを教えといてやる。極道ってのはな。
Yakuza Zero is an action-adventure game developed and published by Sega. It is the 6th main entry in the Yakuza series and a prequel to the original game. The player controls series protagonist Kazuma Kiryu and recurring character Goro Majima, alternating between the two at predetermined points during the story. Players can freely walk around Kamurocho and Sotenbori, interacting with people they meet to trigger side quests, battle enemies who attack them on the street, or playing one of the several minigames, including fully playable versions of some classic Sega arcade games. Abilities are earned by buying them off of a skill tree that is gradually unlocked during the game. A major innovation of Yakuza Zero is the addition of fighting styles for both Kiryu and Majima that can be switched in the middle of battle. Kiryu utilizes the balanced brawler style, the powerful but slow beast style, and the fast boxing-based rush style. Conversely, Majima uses the balanced thug style, the weapons-oriented slugger style, and the tricky dance-based breaker style. Completing Kiryu and Majima's side businesses will unlock an additional legendary fighting style for the characters, the Dragon of Dojima and the Mad Dog of Shimano styles respectively. The game received generally favorable reviews from critics upon its release. Resonance of Fate is a role-playing game developed by Tri-Ace and published by Sega. The game uses a fast-paced strategic combat system revolving around different types of firearms and combination moves between the 3 playable characters. Resonance of Fate is set in a steampunk environment and takes place on Earth in the distant future. When atmospheric pollution nearly annihilates life on Earth, the remnants of humanity construct a purification system called Basil. In time, the surviving human population create a civilization around Basil's central tower, watched over by its mechanical core, Zenith. Zenith ties human lives to quartz stones, making them immune to the pollution while giving them predetermined social status and lifespans. The three protagonists, Zephyr, Leanne, and Vacheron, form a mercenary group that take odd jobs for the populace of Basil. During their missions, they discover a plan by the city's ruling cardinals to subvert Zenith's rule, and discover their own connections to the cardinals' plans. During each character's turn in combat, the player can move around and perform actions, limited by the number of action points. Initiating an attack employs a charging system. Players can also choose to charge up the attack multiple times. The time needed to charge depends on the proximity of the enemy, and thus the proximity of danger. Conversely, battle strategy involves interrupting enemy charges. There are two damage types in the game. The first is scratch damage, which is only dealt by submachine guns. Scratch damage accumulates quickly but cannot kill an opponent. Scratch damage must be converted into direct damage using pistols and grenades on an enemy with scratch damage to defeat it. While moving, characters gain access to hero actions, which make them immune to damage and speed up charge times. However, the use of these hero actions requires the use of bezels, which are recharged through a variety of methods, such as destroying portions of an enemy's weapons and armor or killing an enemy. Characters using hero actions can attack while jumping in the air and are also able to unleash special attacks which manifest as stylish firearm maneuvers. Upon release, the gameplay received the majority of the game's praise.
Long ago, two great titans came into existence. The Bionis and the Mechonis. The titans were locked in a timeless battle.
Xenoblade Chronicles is an open-world action role-playing game developed by Monolith Soft and published by Nintendo. Xenoblade Chronicles takes place on the frozen bodies of two warring titans, the Bionis and the Mechonis. The people of Bionis, including the human-like Homs, are in a perpetual war with the Mechon machine race of Mechonis. Key to the Homs' effort in fighting against the Mechon army is the Monado, a sword that is said to have been wielded by the Bionis. During an attack on his colony, the main protagonist, Shulk, discovers his ability to wield the Monado and sets out on a quest for revenge with his best friend Rain, with others joining in as the game progresses. The player controls one character out of a party of 3. Location Affinity tracks interpersonal relationships between all of the game's named characters, depicting to which degree they get along with one another, and a town's general perception of the player's controllable party. Completing quests can alter perception of the characters and open up additional story sequences. There's also Party Affinity, which is strictly the level of affection between each party member. These affinities can be raised by having characters participate in battle together, giving gifts, or using the heart-to-heart system. These heart-to-hearts are intimate moments between two characters that can show more of a character's personality, history, or thoughts, and can be initiated by having a certain level of affinity between them. Ether crystals can be found from fallen enemies or ether crystal deposits, which give the player access to a multifaceted gem crafting minigame, allowing for the creation of gems that may increase battle stats when equipped. Xenoblade Chronicles has a real-time action-based battle system where the player manually moves the current lead character in real time, and party members will auto-attack when enemies enter their attack radius. Manually input attacks called arts may also be performed by the player. Battle arts are only available after a cooldown period that occurs after every use, while character-specific talent arts only become available after enough auto-attacks are executed. Arts for each character must be set by the player on their respective setup, called the battle palette, outside battles. The party gauge slowly fills as party members successfully land hits on the enemies, and filling the gauge allows the players to chain multiple attacks together for extra damage. Upon release, the game received critical acclaim as one of the best role-playing games in recent years. Oh, and did I mention it's probably my second favorite game of all time? Definitive Edition? Come to me. Ononaki is an action role-playing game developed by Tokyo RPG Factory and published worldwide by parent company Square Enix. Gameplay has players exploring dungeon areas selected from a world map, fighting enemies in real-time combat with spirit weapons called demons, and shifting between the living world and the beyond. Ononaki is in a world where the doctrine of reincarnation is enforced by figures called Watchers, who assist in the passing of souls and fight monsters born of regret. The player controls the Watcher Kagashi as he confronts a shrouded figure called the Night Devil. As his journey continues, Kagashi uncovers hidden truths surrounding the cycle of reincarnation and his own past life. Starting off with a basic sword demon, Kagashi gains more demons as the story progresses. Each demon comes with a different weapon type. Demons have different weapon-based skills, mapped to 4 different control buttons, each with the cooldown timer after use. Using a demon increases an affinity meter. Reaching 100% raises Kagachi's attack power, while going above 150% begins decreasing his defense. When at 100% and above, Kagachi can trigger an empowered state. Using a demon in combat earns soul stones, which unlock the demon's skill tree. Using skills repeatedly unlocks bonuses for that attack. New weapons found during exploration and combat can be equipped to demons, with these weapons having slots for upgrade gems, which increase weapon stats. The game has received praise for its mature setting and art design. Astral Chain is an action-adventure hack-and-slash game developed by Platinum Games and published by Nintendo. The game follows the events of a special police task force that protect remnants of humanity from interdimensional creatures and aberrations that invade the planet, with the story centering on the task force's two new twin recruits. Utilizing the titular Astral Chain, the twins restrain and tether the creatures, employing them in combat and investigation, referring to them as legions. Legions come in various different forms, sporting different abilities that are used for both puzzle solving and combat. On top of the player's own health, legions have their own individual health meter that gradually depletes while they are summoned, and they are also susceptible to enemy attacks. Players can summon the legion during combat in order to have them automatically fight with the player to create combo attacks. Completing combos, interrupting enemy attacks, restraining enemies, dodging, and deploying a legion at the correct moment will offer the player a chance to perform a sync attack, requiring the player to press the left trigger at the right instant, similar to a quick time event. Last Order Final Fantasy VII is a Japanese anime original video animation, produced by Madhouse and released by Square Enix. It was directed by Morio Asaka and produced by Masao Maruyama, Jungo Maruta, and Akio Ofuji. Tetsuya Nomura acted as the supervising director. The OVA is an alternative rendition of two flashbacks found within the original release of Final Fantasy VII. The plot of Last Order encompasses two events that occurred before the main events of Final Fantasy VII. One storyline revolves around the Nibelheim scenario that focuses on Zack Fair, Cloud Strife, Sephiroth, and Tifa Lockhart. The other event follows Zack and Cloud as they run from the megacorporation Shinra. The OVA cuts back and forth between these two flashbacks, linked by the narrative of Turk leader Seng and his reflections on the Nibelheim event. Originally meant to focus on Zack, Last Order highlighted Seng's feelings and position in the Shinra company, as well as his moral values. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children is a Japanese computer-animated film directed by Tetsuya Nomura, written by Kazushige Nojima, and produced by Yoshinori Kitase and Shinji Hashimoto. Developed by Visual Works and Square Enix, Advent Children is part of the compilation of Final Fantasy VII series of media, which is based in the world and previous continuity of Final Fantasy VII. Advent Children takes place 2 years after the events of Final Fantasy VII and focuses on the appearance of a trio that kidnaps children infected with an unexplained disease. Former Final Fantasy VII hero Cloud Strife, suffering from the same disease, goes to rescue the children. He discovers that the trio plan to resurrect the villain Sephiroth, using the remains of the extraterrestrial villain Genova, and he and his compatriots from the game fight to stop them. Critics have praised its animation and CGI work. It received the Maria Award at the Sitges Film Festival in 2005, and the Best Anime Feature at the 2007 American Anime Awards.
They came to uncover an ancient truth. This is it. Dr. Ross has opened the door for us.
Final Fantasy The Spirits Within is an American computer-animated science fiction film directed by Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of the Final Fantasy franchise. It was the first photorealistic computer-animated feature film and was the most expensive video game-inspired film at the time of release. The Spirits Within follows scientists Aki Ross and Dr. Sid in their efforts to free a post-apocalyptic Earth from a mysterious and deadly alien race known as the Phantoms, which has driven the remnants of humanity into barrier cities. Aki and Sid must fight against General Hein, who wishes to use more violent means to end the conflict. Square Pictures rendered the film using some of the most advanced processing capabilities available for film animation at the time. A render farm consisting of 960 workstations was tasked with rendering each of the film's 141,964 frames. It took a staff of 200 about 4 years to complete The Spirits Within. Square intended to make the character of Aki Ross into the world's first photorealistic computer-animated actress, with plans for appearances in multiple films in different roles. The Spirits Within debuted with wide praise of the computer-animated characters. The soul of the planet, or Gaia, is the linking thread on this one. Wonderful Days, also known as Sky Blue, is a South Korean animated science fiction film written and directed by Kim Moon-sang. It features backdrops rendered using photorealistic computer-generated imagery, along with the use of highly detailed models for some of the backdrops, with traditional motion control techniques then processed to look like CG. The vehicles were all rendered and the characters were cel animated. Wonderful Days is set in 2142. Environmental pollution has led to a breakdown of human civilization. A technologically advanced city named Ekoban was built, and it harvests energy from the Delos system, which uses pollution in a carbonite catalyzed reaction to generate power. Carbonite extraction is carried out by people who live outside the city in the surrounding wasteland. Among them is an enigmatic young man known as Shua. He ends up in a love triangle with his childhood friend Jay and her superior, Ekoban security commander Cade. The film deals with environmental destruction, pollution, and class struggle. Sound familiar? If you liked the video or it helped you out, click the thumbs up button below. It really helps us out. If you think it could help others, share it. Of course, subscribe for more content like this and more. And if you have anything to add to our list, feel free to comment below. Thanks for watching, and keep attacking.